Hi, everyone. My name is Alena Garcia. I am a senior solutions consultant at Altvia. I've been at Altvia for just under 3 years, which is pretty wild. It's flown by. Prior to Altvia, I was a senior solutions consultant at another tech platform called Talent Reef. I was there for about 4 years doing the same thing, supporting sales, doing a lot of enterprise level demos, and targeting some pretty interesting and neat Fortune 500 companies. I am completely remote, as you can see by my lovely Chicago background. I moved to Chicago about 1 year ago, so I have been a remote employee, which has been really nice. Altvia has been very supportive in my role, in my move, making sure that I can do some personal development alongside my professional development. So that's been really awesome to be able to progress with Altvia, but then also make sure that I'm supported personally too. In terms of how my role being a senior solutions consultant is supporting in the evolution of private equity and venture capital, it's pretty interesting because being on the front lines alongside the sales reps, the AVPs, we do a lot of conversations, we're doing a lot of questioning, and we're coming to find that majority of these GPs are pretty reliant on, manual Excel workflows. So there's a really big opportunity for education in terms of what is actually in the market and how can you make your lives a lot easier just from an operational perspective. So that's been probably the key element that I would say. Sales in general, of course, being more of a technical persona in those conversations is the biggest driver in terms of how we're helping evolve the industry at large. A lot of opportunity for education solely just based on the conversations that we're having. What are you doing in your day-to-day? Why is that a pain in the butt? How do we provide technologies that's really going to help alleviate those day-to-day problems and then help you focus on the things that are a little bit more important, right? Where are you finding your deals? How are you finding those deals? How are you communicating that to LPs? Those are all really big themes that we see in our day-to-day conversations. And it's a really big driver in terms of how we're helping shape or, support, position, I'll say, the right technology to help those problems too. A day in the life of my position, my role. I mean, at the end of the day, we're here to support the AVPs, the sales reps, through anything technical required to help them close a deal, right? So kind of the baseline idea of that is product demonstrations. How are we learning about the prospect? How are we understanding their problems? And then delivering a curated demonstration. That's, kind of your idea of a day-to-day of what a solutions consultant is going to be doing. Past the demo and maybe a little bit more in the background of things, we're also doing all the technical elements from, completing RFIs or RFPs. We're helping stand up POCs, which means proof of concepts. So, a prospect can kind of really understand what being behind the steering wheel is going to be like. A lot of different technical elements that are required to help get these prospects across the line and get them to adopt the technology. So we work really closely with the AVPs and understanding what the overall strategy is going to be when we're going to market at large, but then also when we're focusing and kind of zeroing in on one particular prospect. So not only, what's also interesting too, and really exciting that I really enjoy about the role, not only are we supporting the sales reps, but we also have a lot of internal, cross collaboration with the other departments. Implementation is a pretty big one that we talk with on a weekly basis too, understanding how the project was sold and how it's being implemented, making sure that we're all in line with the operational elements that are being built into the project, and kind of, maybe different hurdles that implementation may be facing down the road that we can alleviate during the sales process. So different things like that in terms of the cross collaboration. Another piece another department, I guess I should say, that we collaborate pretty closely with, and probably my personal favorite, is the product team, understanding where we are on the roadmap, how market demands and competitive elements are going to drive the roadmap, are something that we have a pretty open feedback loop on. So that's a personal favorite too. making sure that, the roadmap and kind of how we're positioning it to prospects is resonating and helping us in the sales cycle too. So, I mean, the job itself, being a solutions consultant, and this isn't just unique to Altvia, this is just in general being an SD wherever you are, you're constantly solving problems. You're wanting to lift up the hood, understand what the problem is, make sure that we're collaborating internally and agreeing upon what that problem is, and then turning around and providing a solution to those problems. It's extremely rewarding when you're talking to a prospect and you're kind of understanding and digesting everything that they're telling you, and then turning around and providing them with solutions. It's almost like an aha moment that they have, which is a super rewarding piece as a technical side or technical persona on a sales cycle. I mean, it's a very interesting industry, and it's, I think I would say, a pretty opaque industry as well. So getting to talk to a lot of different GPs, a lot of different firms that are doing some really cool things is always really interesting to hear, right? Especially with ESG investing and impact investing, it's very interesting to start talking to these people about what they're actually doing, that are making waves in kind of our day-to-day lives as consumers and just individuals. So that's a really neat piece about the industry. So, I mean, I would say you ask as many questions as you possibly can, both internally and, externally to the prospect, to whoever you're talking to, understanding, what the problems are and why they're actually in the market. Why are they looking at technology providers? There's an underlying reason for that, and open communication is going to surface that a lot quicker, which is then going to position you as that technical person to start positioning different features or functionality in a product demo that are going to land really, really well, right? So it's different prospect by prospect, and it may seem, simple to us. So, we talk about this feature every day on every demo, but that might actually land really, really well with a particular prospect. So understanding those really niche problems and being able and comfortable to ask the questions right up front are going to position you at the end of the day to kind of have that grand slam feeling when you're positioning a certain feature or workflow or functionality and the actual demo itself. I'm going to say Altvia's most recently added value, action-oriented and results-driven, is the value that I most identify with. I mean, results-driven, I'm a salesperson at heart, right? So we want to hit our number, we want to hit our individual quota. How are we supporting the sales team at large in doing that? So results-driven is a pretty key day-to-day element of being a solutions consultant in the sales department. And then action-oriented is an interesting one because, again, it kind of ties back into the theme of being on the front lines and having these conversations. We're constantly hearing market feedback. We're constantly having these conversations with GPs and understanding their problems. Understanding that and bringing it and tying it back into the overall conversations that we have with other firms down the road is a really key piece of being a solutions consultant as well. How are we taking those other conversations, understanding the evolving market, so we can, again, continue to drive the department forward, and understanding the technology that we are demoing is providing really key solutions to the problems that we're hearing on a day-to-day basis.